Hey, this is Bruce from Awesome Arcades. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you could get custom-made artwork for your cabinet. And so the company that you're going to go to, and I have a website, I have another video that shows how you order artwork. The company that I would recommend getting it from is Game On Graphics. In terms of the top of my cabinet, and I cover this at length in other videos, just know that it's very easy to slide my artwork out. The artwork is the stuff that goes on the top of the cabinet or the marquee. So like here's an arcade that they're showing, you've got the sign that goes up here, or if it's like a cocktail table under the glass, there's the thing that says like Pac-Man or Frogger. And on my cabinets, that piece is just a thin vinyl veneer that is not taped or glued. Basically, the weight of the glass holds it down, and then there's a clip on each of the four corners of the glass. And if you wanted to get something custom, you could do that. There's two different ways that there are two different people that are going to be involved. If it's something pretty minor, the print shop, this guy, he could do it. If it's something more involved, like you wanted something custom made, like the names of your kids or your last names, then you have to get a graphic designer to design it, and then they send it over to the print shop. So the average cost for the graphic design is anywhere from $30 to $100. It really just depends on how much time and how much custom stuff you need him to make. And then as far as the print, that's usually a set price, although his rates have gone up recently a little bit, but I think it's like $65 or $70 now to print it. That's just to print it. And then if it's something that's simple, he could just put it together, or there's a small, setup fee. If it's something more complex, then a graphic designer usually charges around, like I said, $30 to $100. So if you wanted something custom made, here's an example of one that we recently did. And this was the Shazy, I almost said Chazzy. It's Shazy New York Public Library. So the first thing I recommend to people is grab a copy of the top. And the way that you can find those, if you just go to my website, which is Awesome Arcades. Should have already had this open for the video, I guess. And then if you just go to one of the cocktails, try this one. This is the Ultimate Cocktail. And if you scroll down, second row, first picture in, this is an example of the artwork. And by the way, the graphic designer, this is something he designed for me. I want to put Pac-Man on him, but obviously legally I can't. So I said, hey, I want it to say arcade in a font that's just like Pac-Man. And so that is what he created. In addition, he did this one, which is kind of a ripoff of Miss Pac-Man, looking pretty cool there. And then he did this one, which is identical to Galaga. It's in the exact same colors. And let me just tell you, I had several graphic designers try to create this for me, and none of them looked very good. This guy, it looks great. I mean, it's very, very professional. And this guy is tracing this stuff. I don't know if he's drawing it or doing it somehow in the computer. I don't know how he creates it, but it's custom. Like I'll give him ideas and he comes back with stuff. So anyway, what I would recommend is opening one of these by going to my website and then taking a piece of paper, sticking it to your monitor. And if you can do this freehand, great, but I can't. I have no drawing ability. And then I just kind of trace it out. And then what I do is once I've got the traced copy of it, I find the pictures that I want. Now, if they're logos, like let's say you wanted to do Southwest Airlines. First thing I do is go to Google, go to images, search for your image, search for the term, then click images, then come down here to tools, size, and look at large files. Bear in mind that you're gonna be taking this and blowing it up and putting it on the top of the cocktail art. If it's a small resolution image, it's not gonna look good when it's blown up. If you can't get bigger resolution images, let me know. I think there's some AI tools now where they can take, and even when it's blown up, they can kind of smooth out the edges and fill in the missing pixels and make it look better. Kind of like how they take an old picture from like the 80s and make it look clear. But all that stuff takes time and costs money. So the easiest thing to do would just be to start with getting the best files that you can. Or if you've got a design or a picture, kind of sketch it out. Then what I want you to do is let's say there was a picture of the cocktail top here. I want you to have a legend over here, and you're gonna say, all right, number one is, logo number one. I want you to save that and say, okay, I would like logo number one, for example, to be, this guy said, okay, I want the Shazy Public Library logo to be in the top middle of the artwork and in the bottom middle. And then this design here, we recreated from scratch. This was actually on my public local library website, and we just recreated it for his library. We changed Boise, where I live, to Shazy. And so, yeah, just make sure you keep a legend and then write down all the different things, where you want them. Number one to be in the corners, number two in the center. You could have number three. In addition, make sure that you write down what the background color that you want is, or if you want a split or whatever design that you'd like. And if you could provide a sample of that color, that's even better. But just know this, the graphic designer is being paid by the hour, usually charges like $50 to $100 an hour. So the less time he has designing stuff, the more money you're going to be saving. And I think the better result you're going to get. Typically what he does is you submit some information to him. He allows you to have 2 rounds of modifications or amendments or addendums. I don't know what the word you want to use. Changes, right? You can make 2 sets of changes, and then above and beyond that, I've actually never had anybody need that, but according to the rules, they can start to charge you more money if there's like a bunch of dramatic changes. Just one example, I have had somebody completely scrap an idea. Like the guy had created something and they said, I'm just not really feeling that, so let's start over and do something entirely different. That one was treated like a new job. It was just an independent, separate charge for the new work. And of course, the customer understood because it was outside of the scope of what was originally quoted. It was a new thing. Okay, but yeah, just know that the more information you can give me, the better. If you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully that's clear. And then basically the graphic designer sends a large high-resolution file directly over to the print shop, who then prints it. And there are 2 different independent people that are involved with something like this.